All right, and we're live with a very special session of Haute Residence today with a true coast-to-coast panel. Really looking forward to hearing from each of you. And before we begin, Alison, I'd like to begin with you. What's your biggest takeaway been from going through the pandemic and moving into and through 2021?
Sure, thank you, April. I would say my biggest takeaway, both from on a personal and professional basis, really was the focus on lifestyle last year. Personally, the lifestyle of, slowing down a little bit, spending more time with family, more outdoor activities, getting involved in more things, and also discovering new parts of our own area and town. Um, you know, that kind of ties in on the professional basis because this lifestyle focus really is what drove a lot of our buyers to our area. And I'm based here in Hilton Head, South Carolina, that you saw people choosing not to move for a job or relocate just for a vacation home, but really choosing that lifestyle. And with the pandemic forcing a lot of us outdoors, that brought us, a totally different type of buyer to the area. So I would say that was my biggest takeaway from last year, is finding the space to spend the time with your family, having those bigger yards to, if you have kids, doing, camp outs in your backyard and pitching a tent there and being able to do that, coming from more of an urban lifestyle. That would be my biggest takeaway, is the change in the lifestyle.
All right, thank you, Alison. Kathryn, how about you? Over there on the West Coast, Los Angeles area, what can you share with us?
All right, well, first off, thank you for including me today. I'm very excited to be here today. And as Alison just stated, lifestyle, absolutely. The building boom that's been, I'm Southern California, I'm Beverly Hills, Los Angeles area, and we've had a lot of development in the last 3 to 5 years. And a lot of the homes, they're doing the zero lot value. So a lot of these new homes, we've always kind of scratched our heads saying, there's not a lot of backyard space. They're building 6,500 square foot homes on 8,000 square foot lots. And as the last year has come, you find people with their children in the front yard in the driveway. They have no backyard to play with their children. And we're seeing the developers identifying that just in the last 6 months, really changing how they're building these really large homes to really take advantage of the yards in Los Angeles that people it didn't occur to them. I don't know what had occurred to them. But with the change in COVID, the stay at home, the need for more space, we have ADUs, accessory dwelling units, that were sanctioned by the city of Los Angeles 2 years ago. And now people are looking for lots so they can build that granny flat or the extra junior flat for working at home. We have a big mishmash of commercial space as well in Los Angeles. So we're not seeing people going back to their offices. So we see a little that dynamic changing quite a bit in Los Angeles. But the biggest takeaway was for me and with my clients, the need for each other. Los Angeles is a car community. You don't really know your neighbor. But when things changed, and a year ago, none of us knew which way was up. And we really relied on our neighbors again, which we really hadn't done in Los Angeles in the list of decades I've been living here. I'm from Connecticut originally. So really reaching out, having dinner parties again. I don't see a lot of people going out to restaurants quickly. People are getting vaccinated, they're enjoying their space again, backyards, as Alison mentioned. So the biggest takeaway for me is the sense of belonging that Los Angeles has really realized. And what the terrible last 12 months has brought so many of us closer together that I love being in LA right now. Someone was saying that a lot of people are moving out. People are really learning to love the city again in a completely different way. So that's my initial takeaway from.
Thank you, Kathleen. Kathleen, how about you over there in Jacksonville, Florida?
Well, hey, April, thanks for inviting me to be here with you all today. It's kind of exciting. I've not done a live streaming in a very long time. So what the takeaway for me is watching the market here in Florida, specifically Northeast Florida, surge in the area of luxury market. The marketing itself, we saw in the past 6 months, over 400 homes over $1 million getting sold. I mean, that's just amazing. The most expensive home for California is probably not that exciting, but for our area, at a $9,900,000 home on the St. Johns River, with over 14 acres is fabulous. And it's not even, it is the most expensive. And then we have another luxury home on the ocean front, which is running for $9,750,000. Again, that is the demand, and it's kind of a Tuscan look, and it's on the ocean front, and people are looking more at oceanfront. I had one experience where it was October, and normally our days on market for oceanfront would run, if we're lucky, 360 days. It sold in 48 hours, and I overpriced all the multiple offers. The pricing increased, the increasing still that is going on, and the appraisers can't keep up, and it's very hard to make sure that things are being sold at that rate. But I think it was Allison's point about the lifestyle. If you want to be able to live by the ocean, and you want to be able to tolerate what it's like to live on the ocean, because it's a lot of upkeep, but the beauty of it is the attraction. We also saw a surge in pool homes being a huge desirable situation, because they couldn't go swimming in the public pools or in their community pools. And the pool folks just can't build them fast enough. So that was kind of an interesting thing when everybody asked me for a home with a pool. Okay, well, I'll try to find you one, but you may have to dig your own hole, you know? So.
Well, there you go. Kathleen, thanks so much. Taryn, how about here in South Florida, Palm Beach?
Oh, the pandemic, wonderful pandemic. So what did I learn? What was my takeaway? I really learned to get back to focusing on the quality of life personally, reconnecting with our why, and when the pandemic happened, we're in business, we're in the business of showing properties. So when we weren't able to show properties anymore, it's like, well, what do we do now? We can't network. We can't do our most basic functions, and adapting to virtual selling and being home all the time. And we had a big aha moment when our daughter said to us, after homeschooling, or whatever we want to call it, for a couple months, they said, we've been home with you more now than ever before. And we haven't spent more time with you. We're spending less time with you. We don't really even see you, because we're holed away in our quadrant of our house trying to figure out how do we adapt to keep business going. And we're like, we had lost sight of the why. So, getting back to that and getting back to quality of life outdoors, appreciating our pool again. And in walking, I saw so many people walking outside, and segueing that into professional perspective, it was like, we reconnected with the lifestyle, the demand here, because you get used to showing these properties with amazing backyards, and you forget people can be walking along the intercoastal, and they don't need to have the backyards and the pools. They have these amazing views. So, figuring out, how do we coexist, and how do we do virtual better? How do we do virtual sales presentations better? And, just loving where you live, not just personally, but being able to convey that professionally. So being, more intentful with our time, what tools we're bringing on, how are we communicating value? And then when the market exploded, we were able to say to everyone, these are all the things we did during COVID to prepare for this surge. So now that you have all these new agents who are on the market, because a lot of people seem to have gotten their license during COVID, we have the experience in the sales and understand intimately how life changed and how we can convey it to make sure that doesn't happen to other people again. So it's my welcome.
Thank you, Taryn. Well, we have a really exceptional group today, truly a coast-to-coast panel. Allison, I'd like to begin with you. And if we can go, one by one, and if you can give our audience just an opener on who you are.
Sure. Again, I'm Alison Melton. I run a all-female team of the Melton Group, and I am with the broker Charter One Realty. We are the largest broker in the Low Country, Hilton Head Island, Bluffton, and Beaufort, South Carolina, and we're the largest broker by volume. So most of the big transactions you see here, it's usually a Charter One agent involved. So I'm very blessed to be part of that company. I've been doing real estate now for a little over 7 years here in the Hilton Head area. Prior to that, I was a New Yorker. I lived in the city. I worked on Wall Street in the world of Latin American investment banking, and I loved every minute of it. But as most of us, life changes, and always had a passion for real estate. And as I tell a lot of my clients now, in the market we are in, where literally we have to make a market sometimes. We have to reach out and find those sellers. We have to, match the buyers and the sellers. I am so grateful to have had that experience on the big trading floors in New York and putting together those deals, because that has really served me extremely well during this market. So we love it. Again, been here for a while, and outside when I'm not selling real estate, as you can probably see behind me, I am one of those horse crazy obsessed girls, and spend time riding in the Hunters, and my daughter shares the passion as well. Actually, she's out riding at the moment. So we still spend a bit of time in New York and also in South Florida and Palm Beach, Miami area. And that's the great thing about living where we live, is we are only 6 hours from Palm Beach. We can get in the car and drive to where we want. We can drive to Charlotte, Atlanta. We're 30 minutes from Savannah. We're an hour and a half from Charleston. So that's one of the reasons I absolutely love where we live on the East Coast, that it gives us that flexibility. Also 4 hours to the mountains. So that's a little bit about me. And we've been focused on luxury real estate in the Hilton Head and Bluffton area. In this area in particular, we have a lot of the gated communities, the private communities focus mainly on golf, tennis, boating, equestrian pursuits. So we tend to focus a lot of our business within those communities. So that's just a little bit about me. Thank you,
a
April.
great partner of ours.
Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Kathryn, how about you?
Hi, I'm Kathryn Shafer. I office in Beverly Hills. I used to have my own brokerage business, and then 2008 happened. So life has changed on many levels. I now hang my license with a company called Keller Williams. I'm with the luxury division there. I work my office as a legacy business, as a family office. I work with clients that I've had for many years. I've been selling real estate since the 1990s. And with that, I work with the business managers and the CPAs. So I can market and sell their multi-million-dollar homes in the Bel Air and the Brentwood areas. But I also love first-time buyers. It's a passion for me. So I also work with their kids when they're graduating from USC and UCLA, working for that first-time condo downtown Los Angeles, or their starter home out in the San Fernando Valley. Being out of Beverly Hills, I really can work all of Los Angeles. I work the corridor, which we talk about all the way from Sunset Strip to Silver Lake and Los Feliz, and also the San Fernando Valley. And as Allison, not Allison, I'm sorry, that's but Haute interviewed me the other day about, what about Beverly Hills post office box. Los Angeles is really known for its private schools, but it's also really known also for some LAUSD schools. So I straddle both sides of the Mulholland corridor, where it really gives me some flexibility to offer a lot of different opportunities to my clients. I also have a team. I have 5 agents below me. 3 of them are with me, I should say. 3 of them are buyers agents. The other 2 are the agents. So that really gives me a broad reach to go down towards Manhattan Beach, out to Pasadena. So I truly work all of the Los Angeles area. I'm originally from Connecticut. Most of my family's still on the East Coast. I play golf. I don't ride horses, but I've sold many horse properties in the LA area. We have those out towards Hidden Hills where the Kardashians live. And I just love what I do. I can't imagine never not selling real estate. And working in Los Angeles, it really gives me the opportunity to work a vast, very deep. Oh, did I lose you?
A little bit there. Kathryn, thank you. Great representation out there on the West Coast for us.
Thanks.
Kathleen, how about you for Jacksonville, Florida?
Well, my name is Kathleen Floryan, and I have been in the real estate realm for just under 16 years. Prior to that, I was a registered nurse in all sorts of areas of healthcare, including administration, running surgery centers, operating room, intensive care. So when I decided I would leave that environment, very intense, and hats off to all the first responders that have gone through this pandemic. I really feel for what they had to go through and what they are still going through. And I guess I thank my lucky stars I didn't have to do that right now. But the point is that as a registered nurse, I was able to transfer a lot of my skill level into real estate, dealing with people that on a personal level that we often as realtors need to get right down to the nitty gritty. It could be a healthcare issue that's making them move. It could be divorce or other financial circumstances that cause a move. And all these life changes were all involved in the healthcare environment. So it was a very easy transition. My focus has been predominantly on the luxury side of things. We have 3 bodies of water around here. So that becomes a very desirable area for not only boating purposes, but also because of different lifestyles. There's ocean, there's intercoastal, and there's the St. Johns River. All along which waterfront properties, as we all know, are very desirable. So in the luxury realm, we've been I've been focused on golf course communities, gated golf course communities. You may have heard of TPC Sawgrass, which is the players tournament we just had here in early March. And speaking of pandemic, that last year at the start of the TPC, we were sitting there and the whole place collapsed and closed down and no more golf tournament. That was one of the most telling moments in my experience. But I like the concept of working with military folks as well, because we have a huge military presence, 2 naval air stations that are located here. And so serving the military is important for me because I've had my father a Marine, my brother a Marine, and my other brother in the military, in the Army. And it's quite diverse. We're seeing a huge influx of businesses into the Jacksonville area that didn't consider Florida before, or as Jacksonville has been known as the gateway into Florida, we're starting to see more and more people finding it logistically smart. A lot of IT going on here, as well as the logistics, because we have a port and we have access to rail and can get out to the United States very quickly to all points north. I came from New York. I was born in New York, for all of our New Yorkers here. Lived in Connecticut, moved to Ohio, Indiana, and back down to Florida. So I've made a number of moves in my life, know what that stress is like. And in Ohio, forgive me for all of those who may be watching, I am a Ohio State University grad, so therefore I am a Buckeye, and enjoy the camaraderie that we have. We have a huge number of Buckeyes here in the Northeast Florida area. So that said, that's enough about me.
Well, thanks so much. And there's also great longstanding corporations that have been headquartered there in the area for a long time. And I know their execs look to live in these golf course communities. Landstar's been there for many years, and they continue to bring people in. So really great area.
Right. I forgot about your relationship with Landstar. It's absolutely an amazing company. And we were very thrilled to have that company as well as a number of logistics companies in the area.
Thank you, Kathleen. Taryn, last but not least.
Last but not least. So my name is Taryn Pisaneschi. I'm in Palm Beach. I'm Puerto Rican, though I grew up in Miami Beach, so I let people know I do speak fluent Spanish, which has been very interesting in this market because we have a lot of out-of-area buyers coming here and not everyone is bilingual. We are with Compass, and my husband and I, his name is Roger, we run a team called the Pisiniski Group. We actually have a team of 8, including us, which is very helpful when you have limited inventory and more people and you want to make sure everyone has the hand-holding experience that you promise everyone. I grew up in a real estate family with commercial holdings. I did a lot of the negotiations. So it's kind of natural for me to get into real estate, even though it was not really something that was on my horizon because it was part of my background. I never thought of that as what my passion would become. I went to school for marketing and PR, and my husband and I, who've been in business together for pretty much 20 years, founded and sold several businesses. And that foundation and commitment to customer service has been paramount to our success in real estate. There's a lot of people meet agents and they're door openers. And, you know, as we all know, it's so much more than just door opening, especially in this market. It's about solving problems and asking questions to understand the pain point behind their search. And we all of us here on this group, we all look at it differently. These are businesses for us. This is really important for us. And so having that foundation has been helpful. We have 2 little girls, which are our Ys, and we focus on Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, Jupiter, and some of the other markets around. When people ask, where is your focus? I say to them, instead of limiting myself to a neighborhood, we're committed to the customer experience and the rapport in someone's needs and lifestyle goals. If we're a connection, we have a great service to provide. We want to make sure that we're in alignment with the clients that are going to appreciate where we're investing our time, especially with the inventory challenges that we're seeing. All we have is our time. And if we're spending it on people who are unrealistic, you know, then that's not really fair to all. So one of my skills is being resourceful. I never say no. If I think there's a stone left to be turned over, I look and I put deals together. I think it was Alison who had mentioned with your Wall Street background, you know, having to get creative and find solutions where people didn't think they existed. And for those of us who are mastering that right now, I think those of us who are, those are us who are actually succeeding right now. So when I'm not selling real estate, we scuba dive, we explore the US in our RV, which is something we discovered we are loving during COVID. And we go hiking in places like Alaska. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Taryn. Great partner for Palm Beach. So speaking of inventory issues, Alison, over to you. Talking about the latest in your market and what you foresee happening through the remainder of 2021 in regards to the inventory shortage.
Okay, well, as March is ending today, I don't have the official March numbers, but I can tell you that at the end of February 2021, we were down 77% year over year in inventory. We are down to 1.1 months of inventory in our market. This is Hilton Head, Bluffton, and parts of Beaufort as well. What does this mean? It means that the pricing also, we have seen about a 20 to 30% year over year price increase in properties. So those who have been sitting on the fence waiting to buy, they can't. We have seen more, you know, as we all talked about earlier, all the multiple offer situations, they're coming in fast and furious. You know, we are a market much like some of yours where we still have a lot of clients in the Northeast or Ohio waiting to come down and waiting for that perfect property. They came here for a week to search for their new home. They did not find it, but they at least identified which community they want to be in. Now, if that property comes up, that is 75, 80% of what they were looking for, they'll have to write an offer sight unseen. At this point, sellers are not taking the visual contingencies anymore. You can write in a due diligence period and kind of play with that, as talked about getting creative, but inventory is a challenge. We are, I typically do most of the listings and other teammates, you know, work with buyers, but I also work with a lot of buyers, and especially I'm doing so right now, that if something comes on the MLS that I think my buyer may be interested in, I am getting in my car. I have been known to rush over in my pajamas in the morning. I know it's vacant. No one's going to see me. Throw on a hat and you go. And I will look at it. I will FaceTime them and say, guys, we've got to put the offer in. We're also seeing in our market with the inventory is that things are being listed, but agents are, talking about it and setting up deals sometimes, behind the scenes. So even though we think there's new inventory coming in, I tell the buyers I'm working with, do not trust the MLS, do not trust Zillow. I will almost guarantee you that property is not available. And if it is, you have to expect to write an offer above asking if it is the first or second day it has hit the market. And the second part of your question, do we see this improving with inventory anytime soon? I say no, not this year. There is still so much pent-up demand for this particular area. And, people want to move here. We have, and I'm sure we'll get into it later. At the end of the day, we've had a pretty good year in terms of COVID. It has been wonderful to be in Hilton Head. And that is why people are coming here. We have been back to school, things have been open, so people want to be here. In addition, those who already live here, they're not leaving. They don't want to sell because they know they're not going to be able to buy something else. They're not going to be able to compete with money coming in from New York, LA, wherever, Chicago. They don't have those budgets. So they can't pay 50, 100,000 over ask for the house. So that's also causing an inventory crunch. I guess it's a great place to be. So everyone wants to be here. So I don't think, especially with interest rates staying low, I think we have this low inventory for at least another year ahead of us here in the Hilton Head Bluffton area.
Thank you, Allison.
You're welcome.
Kathryn, what about there in your market? Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, PO area. What can you tell us?
It's really interesting. As the other realtors on the call, Zoom are talking, their market has just blown up in the last 10, 11 months. Los Angeles market, Beverly Hills, luxury, and even in the starter home area, we've had a strong market for 5 years. We've been in multiple offers, I would say now for 3 years, if not 4. We have not, it's just in the recent past, in the last 10 months, that we've seen the escalation of the 10%, 20% raise in prices. We've had low inventory for 4 years. Right now, days on market for a sold property closes in the average of 67 days. Right now from Beverly Hills, looking at the Sunset Corridor, I don't know how familiar everyone on the call is with the Zoom is familiar with that, but just looking down the Sunset Boulevard to the Hollywood Hills, there's from $2 million up, there's only 100 houses on the market, which is crazy. So the inventory is below where it's ever been. And we are getting the multiple offers like everyone else. We're doing the escalation clauses. I don't know if you're going to get into that later in the call, if you want to dabble into that conversation now. But so the high end is flattened out. We start getting into the multi, you're looking at the 15, 20, 25 million. It is flattened out. And as Allison was talking about, those are quiet sales. You're not seeing a lot of those come on the market. That's business manager to business manager or the attorneys. And if realtors are involved, it's more of just an introduction and then they're out of the transaction. If you're looking at the million to the 2 million, you are looking at that's a first-time buyer market in my area, which is sadly, as sad as that is. But with these interest rates, I think right now they're at 3.25. I haven't had a chance to check with my lender today. They went up a little bit, but then they came back down. That we're seeing a tremendous push for the first-time buyers they're removing their contingencies. They're removing their appraisal contingency. So they're going to have to come in with more money, obviously, to make up the difference with the appraisals. Looking at the medium end, so we have the Sanford and the Valley, which is the more the starter homes, if you will, and that's 750,000 to 800,000. First-time buyers can't buy them. The developers are buying them. They're buying them and they're tearing them down, or they're buying them and they're fluffing them and putting on the market for another 40 to 50% increase. So the market is so diverse here. We don't have I think the lowest price property right now in the market in my area is $1.1 million. But with the first time buyers and with writing the offers, I've been running the escalation clauses with no cap. I just put a transaction in escrow this week, doing a 2-week all cash escrow. They're going to do a portfolio loan. And they came back to me saying, you have an escalation clause. Well, 2 other people had escalation clauses as well. So it's becoming commonplace. When I first started doing those 5 years ago, I was really the only one at the time doing it, to my knowledge. So they called me up and they said, do you have a cap? And I said, no, my buyers don't have a cap. So the listed house was listed at $1.6 million and we're at escrow for $1.910 million. That and then with 2 backup offers. So the inventory is low, the pent-up energy is there. It's in people, as I mentioned earlier, they're looking for those larger lots so they can get that extra unit, the ADU, because more and more people are working out of their homes. And I love what Kathleen said, the pool people. I tried to get a pool person out this week and they're 4 weeks behind. So the market here is consistent. I don't see it changing anytime soon as we are starting to go back to work. A lot of people are deciding to choosing to stay at home and work. The movie industry is starting to gear up again. Movie permits are starting to be generated again with all the COVID protocols in place. So Los Angeles is slowly coming out of its cocoon. I don't see the market changing anytime soon.
Thank you, Kathryn. Let's talk escalation clauses in your market, Kathleen, Jacksonville.
So we're seeing a lot of what Kathryn has just spoken about with escalation clauses, and it's getting to the point where it is almost impossible. I write all my escalation clauses with no cap, and you get to a point where you're not sure whether or not the other side is really understanding about no cap. And then they're accepting whatever offer because the seller is getting nervous and they want to take the highest and best, but they're not exactly sure what that means. I'm seeing, I work with eXp Realty and we are a virtual company. And the beauty of it is that we were like built for COVID originally. And the movement of escalatory clauses has become the thing. And if you aren't doing an escalatory clause, you shouldn't even be writing the offer because you're going to run into it right away. And I think that the majority of people who are, I wrote 3 escalatory clauses just last week, not one was accepted. And you start to say to yourself, well, if I had no cap, how come we didn't get the deal? Oh, it was another term within whatever it is. It's extremely difficult. I think it's doing an injustice personally to a seller because the seller gets to the other side of the situation. And with this escalatory clause, if it happens to be cash, you're okay. But if it happens to be a situation where there's conventional loan or jumbo loan involved, and the appraiser comes in and kills the deal, then your seller is back to square one or renegotiating. And so there is a slight concern with going in that direction, in my opinion.
Thank you, Kathleen. Taryn, Palm Beach, escalation clauses, any heartbreak stories there?
Honestly, people are not, the escalation clause has not caught on yet here as it does in other markets. A lot of people, they just want you just to keep basically bidding against each other blindly and sometimes even bidding against yourself. Some sellers are not countering, they're just bring me a better offer. The concern with the appraisal, and I have clients and I try to explain this to them, do not be illusioned by this beautiful offer, because if it isn't a financing contingency, unless someone's waiving it or guaranteeing to pay X amount over appraisal, that's going to come back and bite you. And that deal that seemed to be the best on the paper is not really the one that's going to get you to closing the fastest. So there's a lot of disclosure, a lot of conversations, putting a lot of things in writing to make sure they truly understand the pros and cons of the various terms and what people are waiving on the paperwork and the risks of what happens if it doesn't close. You know, here, the deposits are not automatically forfeited if a contract doesn't close. You know, so they're thinking, well, it doesn't close, I'm going to hold on to it. I'm like, no, you still have to sign off on it. So really understanding the nuances of, you know, just of each deal, and then working with people from out of the area who don't know our contracts. You know, I thought when I had a financing contingent, and I just ran into this, well, I thought with the financing contingency, when we got in the extension, the financing was extended. We said, no, it wasn't extended. We told you this, and here it is in writing. Well, then I'm going to cancel. I'm like, well, it's not going to get you what you want. Threatening that to them is not going to help you because you're in the wrong at this point. Your lender from New York has caused these ongoing delays, for example. You know, and also in other areas, we have a floating closing date, like in New York. And I went through this with a personal experience where the closing is on or about. For a date here, time is of the essence. The closing date is the date on the contract. So I have a New York buyer, New York lender who aren't really looking at the dates as finite as we are, thinking it's floating. We get to the day of closing, well, just get another extension. And I had to say, no, you can't. You're out of contract now. So, you know, escalation clauses, changing contracts, it's getting tricky. And this kind of goes back to setting expectations with clients and going over all the different ways you can win and complicate what could be a really good offer. I ask the listing agents now, and I'm sure everyone does as well, like, what's most important to your seller? Is it time? Is it net? Do they want a year post-closing occupancy? You know, what are the things that would sweeten this deal that's not just price related? And I'm even, you know, saying to the listing agent, you know, if you pick us, if you pick this wonderful contract, we'll also include a transaction coordinator. We'll do all appointments. You don't even need to be present. Whatever we can do to help you and add value, because the listing agent has the ear of the seller. And it's, again, terms are just important as well as a feeling that they communicate.
Thank you, Taryn.
You know, one of the things I just wanted to jump in on what Taryn was saying there. One of the things that has become a concern, and I'm sure we've all read about it, is this demand, you know, supply demand. The demand for the home has pushed the buyers into a situation. How do I get this home? How do I get my next home? How do I get any home? Because every single time they're going in with an offer, they're getting denied or pushed back or something along that line. And so the question of, well, should I write a letter to the seller telling them all about this? And I tell them all the time, no, you can write a letter if your offer is accepted, but you know, the whole concept of writing an offer and then saying why I love this home, it's bordering on a discriminatory process. And so we've got to be real careful. I had three letters to my seller, and I didn't present any one of them. And I had escalatory clauses in each one of these offers in addition to those. So it's not something I'm recommending that anybody do. I guess a long time ago it made sense, but to put a bias in is concerning. So.
Can I just add in one of the things that Taryn mentioned? You know, it is, you know, the seller always wants to sell their property for the highest price. We understand that. However, the terms in this market sometimes are far more important. As we've all dealt with sellers, you know, they're reluctant sometimes to sell their home, but they see the market is fantastic right now and they've been waiting to sell it for a couple of years. They've done some upgrades. Now is the time, because probably one of us has reached out to them to put it on the market. Well, guess what? Now they're in the situation of they're a buyer. They can't secure the next property. They keep running into roadblocks. The most successful kind of sales that I've done and deals I've put together in the past 6 months have been those with the leasebacks, the post occupancy up to 6 months, that are free to the seller. You can stay until, you know, whenever, and then you'll have to start paying or we'll have to reevaluate this. And it gives the seller a peace of mind. And I have seen those deals put together a little bit easier than even those with the escalation clauses and offering top dollar. In addition to that, in our market as well, we have just started to see the escalation clauses probably in the last 30 days. Not a common practice in the Hilton Head market until recently. What we are seeing and what we're advising buyers to do, if the home is, if the home is relatively new, or if the home has relatively new systems, HVACs, appliances, a relatively new roof, you put that offer in as is. Do not ask the seller to do a single repair. Those will get it. Taking out appraisal contingencies, taking out financing contingencies. Even if you get a mortgage, that is your right. But knowing that you will be responsible for close. If you don't get the mortgage, you're going to lose your earnest money if you walk. Anything we can do to advise our buyers to make the stronger offer without using those escalation clauses, that's almost where our market is today, where we will be in another 30 days. Maybe we're going to be like Kathryn in LA, where every offer that we write has an escalation clause.
There is another option, as there is the seller contingency, and I've done that successfully. It's almost like a domino game. You have 4 deals, and each one's subject to the sale of the other property. Right. One in the middle, then everything can fall apart. The only thing I would caution is that if it's a lender, you can't lease for more than 30 days. The lenders won't allow that. You can't do a 6-month seller lease back if the buyers have a loan. At least in Los Angeles, you can't, in the California market. So just get a little cautionary there. If it's all cash, then yes, the world is their oyster, so to speak. But with the cancellation clauses, every style is different, and certainly speak with all the listing agent, because that relationship will be the winning formula all in itself. Who they want to be in escrow with, and also when I do when I write an escalation clause, I will never bid against myself. I'll put what we want to pay for the house. Then I'll say we'll match any verifiable other offer plus $10,000 type of thing. So I'll never bid it. My buyer will never bid against themselves. I always have a litmus test. But what happened in our market, and I'd like to know what's happened in the other markets. This started maybe 5 years ago as well. Best and final. It's just, it doesn't give you anything to push against. So you write an offer, you think you write a great offer, there's 10, and the listing agent come back at best and final, but doesn't give you any groundwork, any foundation. Are you seeing that in your markets? Is that prevalent in your markets as well?
I haven't quite seen it that way.
We use the highest and best and final. When I'm the listing agent, everyone always asks, and I will say the terms matter more. A a generous lease back would really make a difference to these clients. Or, the clients were expecting, it was priced this way, the clients were expecting multiple offers. And I try and be as honest as you said, your relationships with the other realtors in the area, that is absolutely key. If someone comes in all, ball busting on something and we're the best, or you got to give it to us. You know what? My seller has my ear too. And I'm probably not going to that's probably not going to be a smooth transaction for my client, which is what I look out for, because I have been hired to represent them. So we do see that highest and best. But again, I don't love it when I'm the buyer's agent. As a listing agent, I do try and give a little bit of guidance.
So I have a question about new construction. In our particular market, I just did a quick look-see, and it appears that, Northeast Florida and the St. Johns County area is considered one of the better school districts in the state of Florida. So the building is going through the roof. And what I'm seeing right now is that the builders are actually doing, I don't want to call it an auction, but they're doing a highest and best on their available lots for sale. And they aren't guaranteeing that the list price or the suggested starting at price is going to be anywhere near what their building end price is going to be. Are you seeing that in your markets with builders? And I mean, many of them are telling me that they're having a hard time getting wood. They're having a hard time getting nails to do roofs. I mean, they're having a hard time getting labor because of the PPP that's encouraged people to stay home. And so are you seeing that in your area with new construction?
Not in Los Angeles. Certainly lumber, I mean, everything has probably doubled in some areas with nails and whatnot. I mean, I'm in Los Angeles, so it's a very diverse market. So there are plenty of people who want to work. I know unemployment, when that was first coming on, there were a lot of people just making more money at home than they were working.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Los Angeles was shut down. We're just opening up right now.
Okay.
So the first, I mean, I don't know where you are in your states, but you know, when we were deemed essential early on,
Yeah.
and you know, I'm a corporation. I laid myself off from my own corporation just to prepare because no one knew. You know, remember a year ago, we all thought we were going to die on some level, right? It was just, you know, it was really scary a year ago. Still scary for many people right now, not to take it lightly on any level, in any way. So Los Angeles is opening up. So at least what the developers doing here, they're buying 5 or 6 in the same neighborhood and moving their crew on one to the other. But what I've been reading, you know, nuts and bolts coming from China, the Suez Canal this past week that reopened on Monday has not helped anything. They say we're almost 30 to 45 days behind. So we're going to see prices escalate across the board. I'll be curious what that does with inflation and recession. I don't know if anyone's well, maybe Alison, being the Wall Street background, maybe an economic snippet from you.
I think we're heading for a big inflation.
Yeah, I do too. And I think, you know, with the, again, I don't want to, I know, April, you have an agenda, so I don't want to jump around.
No, Kathryn, this is great.
Okay. You know, with today with Biden announcing the infrastructure, you know, I think we're going to be okay until 2022. It's an election year, you know, so I'll be curious where it all ends up. But I would really love to if Alison or Taryn has an opinion of that with your backgrounds.
Taryn, starting with you.
On new construction, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So new construction's been very interesting here. We're starting to hear delays due to materials. We're also starting to find that the advertised pricing and land is not what the final pricing is. So it is echoing that. You know, I'll say to the rep, I'm like, well, it shows us on the MLS. Oh, well, that lot's not available anymore, or that price is not available. It just went up. So I'm starting to see a lot of almost like alarmist style marketing to clients when they're interested in, an offer is brewing, and they keep saying, well, the pricing is going to change. And conveniently, when they sense that it's going to be, that contract is coming or an agreement is coming, that price is not available, and builders are not negotiating on concessions anymore.
Mm-mm.
I mean, forget trying to negotiate upgrades. I mean, and I've had people yell at me, scream at me, and they're like, well, they were willing to do this last week. And I'm like, when I told you last week, you should write the offer while we had this offer in front of us. They're not obligated to anything because we have not signed off on it, and they still have to go to their boss. Mm-hmm. So, it's, and also with the timeline that it's taking to turn properties around, there was a construction boom there, and there's some really fantastic inventory. So now we're seeing builders still advertising furnished models. So the illusion is, well, I can just go buy this and move in a couple months. What they're doing is they're using their existing models to show in 3 years what you can buy. But this is not available today. So I had some clients that flew in. They're so excited. I said, look at this ad that we got. We all looked at it. It was a fantastic email with all the things that were included, and a pool and furniture. How could that not be today? And that was a promise of what it's going to look like in the next couple of years. This is not available, but this is what you're going to be buying. Mm-hmm. So conversations like that cause trust issues. And this ties into, what I said at the beginning about setting those expectations, letting people know that we're doing everything we can to get them the best opportunity, but inventory is what it is. And you can't, and I think Alison also mentioned it, you can't trust Zillow. You can't trust the internet. Mm-hmm. It's all there for lead gen. You need a local liaison to help you understand what the truth is, and not get mad at them when they tell you something that you don't want to hear.
There's also a lot of dilution is the word I want to use in the real estate industry right now with the circumstances of people losing their jobs. Many people jumped into real estate thinking that they can, you know, create a business. I'm not knocking them. I did the same thing, but in this situation, we have like in our area about 9,000 real estate professionals with licenses, and that off-market properties that were Alison, I think, was referring to, that people are going out and going door to door. I have customers, past customers that I've been in contact with that are saying, you know what, I get 15 solicitations by mail with letters asking me if, you know, my house is for sale. I think that there's this reluctance now on the part of sellers to even put themselves out there. As you alluded to before, where else do I go? So those are a number of factors. We're only seeing 3.3% unemployment in St. Johns County, for instance. So that's like everybody's employed that's going to be employed to a certain extent.
One of the things that's been helping differentiate us is being part through our brokerage, and you guys may have that as well, as just having an offline or a private exclusive network, or just communication amongst the agents in your brokerage, and or even just strategic alliances with other agents who happen to know of inventory. You know,
Right.
just when you get on the phone and start calling them, and I tell people, you need someone who's not just looking at the MLS, you need someone who's out creating places for you to look at. And with the sellers that I'm meeting with, the conversation is the same. I love the market. I can't, oh my God, I can't believe I can get this for my house, but where am I going to go? And being able to say to them, you know what, let's just get the listing signed. We can do we can do it as a coming soon, start building up some interest. We can, market it as an offline exclusive so that you know that your process has started, but you're not accruing days on market, and give you a chance to look at inventory. So the moment you find a house you like, you can say to them, I've already listed my house. I've just been waiting to put it on the market. And that gets them at least one step closer to their home, because there's a panic. Where do they go? And people don't want to move a county away.
Right. In Los Angeles, we're no longer allowed to do that. The Department of Real Estate, we're no longer allowed to have coming soons or pocket listings. You can't put a sign on the front yard unless it's in the MLS. Can't even go onto the Facebook shared groups that we have from realtor to realtor. And our MLS now has a coming soon section. You can't even promote that listing unless you have an MLS number, or else you get fined, you can lose your license. That came down, I want to say 6-9 months ago. So I know Compass here has that back end. They really can't use it here. It's really here being California. So that's really, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm actually really glad you brought that up. So the clear cooperation policy went into effect here during, I think it was June or July. So, coming soon, we can't show coming soons, but you can at least put that out there so someone knows that there is an agreement in place, but we cannot show them. But just again, just calling people, letting them know, just, for the purpose of compliance, of course, being able to have something to have that listing, even though you're not showing it, and so that when they find another property, they're not showing their subject property, but when they find the property they're interested in, they've already connected to the fact that they are planning to sell. Okay. Obviously staying within compliance, because we're neurotic about that too. We review clear cooperation every week to make sure that no one is stepping out of bounds, even though, people are out there pushing the limits. It's not worth it. You need someone who follows the rules, because you want that person still in business too.
No, exactly. With integrity, that's what keeps our careers. It keeps that keeps the Zillows at bay, because we have integrity.
So I have one other quick question that I'd like to ask across the country here, and that has to do. I'm sorry, April, if I'm.
Oh, okay. This is great. Please. My question is, and I'm dying to know from Taryn and from Alison specifically, and Kathryn, you can speak to this as well, is the condo market. Are you seeing a resurgence in people saying, okay, I can't find a house, so I'm going to do a condo? Are we seeing that?
I've had people who cannot find a house and they say, I've sold my place in New York, New Jersey, wherever. I'll just buy a villa. Again, funny, because we don't have any more villas. We cannot keep inventory. You know, every time something goes on the market, and kind of backtracking a little bit, what you were saying about your coming soon listings, our MLS uses something called a delayed listing. So it is like a coming soon, but it is delayed. It is in the MLS. They sign a listing delay agreement. They have an MLS number, and you can tag whether or not it can be shown during this time or not. It is only for 30 days. Now, sometimes, you know, agents will put it in there and say coming, you know, delayed listing, not able to be shown. It is not available to the public, which is always why I tell my buyers, this is why you need a dedicated buyer's agent. Because if I see something on that delayed listing, I'm going to call that agent. I'm going to get the scoop. A lot of times they'll even share Dropbox photos with me, so I can share that with my client. Sometimes they say, come on in, but we're not going to accept offers until it goes active. Fine. But I know that we have something to look forward to. Personally, I am no longer putting my listings on delayed listings. I think it opens up a Pandora's box. You've got 50 agents calling you to try and get in there. If my sellers are not ready to have showings yet, I'm turning people away, and then you lose that excitement. I'd rather just wait, make it active, and go. But with the villas, which you see on delay, we've had, you know, even this week, things come up on delayed listings. We're trying to run over there. In our market, because Hilton Head is a top tourist destination, you know, we've been ranked #1 beach and island in the US over the last few years by Travel and Leisure and Condé Nast. You know, so people are coming. They rent these condos Saturday to Saturday. We can only show them during the term. That is between 10 a.m. on Saturday and 3 p.m. until the next guest checks in. 9 times out of 10, we are waiting there at 10 o'clock, waiting for people to come out, you know, with their pool floats and noodles and all their garbage from the week. The condo is trashed. And we're like, yeah, they're asking $1 million for it. You want it? You know, and you've got to make that decision because there's 50 people behind you. And especially now that we're getting into, our spring season is very busy and then rolling into summer. So a little bit different from Palm Beach where, you know, the December, January, February, you've got, you know, lines out the door there. So to answer your question, Kathleen, yes, we are seeing people trying to do that. The thought process in our area is, you know, we want a home in Bluffton. We want to be in Palmetto Bluff. We want to be in Berkeley Hall, Colleton River. We can't find that home. We'll get a beach condo property and we can stay there. So we're here when something comes up, we can go look at it. And guess what? We can hold this for 2 years or, you know, a year or 2 years, you know, then you don't have to pay the capital, you know, lower taxes on it when you go to sell it. And then they can rent it out for short-term income. So those that have the means to do that, we are definitely seeing that happen in this market. However, again, the inventory, there's not that much, and the prices have really escalated.
In Los Angeles, the market.
Oh, Kathryn, I think you froze a little bit.
The condo market here is the first time buyer market for the most part. You certainly corridor, which is a lot of Saudi Arabian type of clientele. In the Los Angeles market, you have the island in the sky type of people that want the second home, they want the security. But most of the condos in the West Hollywood and the San Fernando Valley, that's entry market. That's, you know, starting at $450,000, $500,000. So yeah, I mean, condos, everyone wants a house, and they're, you know, first time buyers are a little bit, they're disappointed when they, you know, they're like, they can't get the house, but they're happy to buy something. So there was something else I was going to mention. Oh, and in Los Angeles, we no longer have short-term Airbnb. That was, the laws were changed 1.5 years ago. So that really changed the Los Angeles market. So that's something that happened. Now you can only do 30 days or more.
Wow. Here it's very hard to find condos that allow short term. I mean, if you can find a building that allows you to do 12 rentals a year, that in itself is of a unicorn. And I have so many people getting frustrated because they're like, I want to buy it, so I have somewhere to stay, but I want to rent it, you know, like, you know, in Alison's market, Saturday, I just want to rent it when I'm not using it. I'm like, yeah, that rental's going to have to either be like 1 day or 30 days, but you can't do it less than that. And they do not like that answer because they're looking at it as an alternative to a hotel room in the interim until they find a property. So, but we are seeing a resurgence of the condo market now that there's vaccines. People want smaller buildings. They don't want to have to be dealing with super high rises. They want to be able to walk downstairs and have easy access to lifestyle, coffee, restaurants. So lifestyle again is coming into play.
In our St. Augustine market, you can still find the short-term rental investment property. They're getting fewer, but they still exist. So if you've got any customers down there, Taryn, who are looking for that, give me a holler.
I'm gonna call you.
You all have just been great. This has really been one of the most informative sessions that we've ever done here at Haute Residence.
The time flew.
I
3 o'clock.
waste.
While you're having fun.
Real resources in all of your own individual markets and leaders. So Alison, if we have viewers that want to work together with you, looking at your market, how can they contact you?
You can visit our website, which is www.lux.com. And I also be reached on my mobile and my text all the time at 843-290-3640.
Great.
And also my handle on Instagram is at Lux Low Country, and also on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm not on TikTok yet. Sorry, guys. One day, but that's how you can find me.
Thank you, Alison.
Thanks,
Kathryn,
April.
Kathryn, for you.
Yeah, so Kathryn Shafer, that's my email as well. It's Kathryn@SchaeferGroupLA.com. And my cell phone text is best for me. I very rarely get a time to check my voicemail, so always text. And that's 323-376-9601. And that's the whole Los Angeles area. I'm not limited to one geographic. But anyway, thank you. Thank you, April, very much.
Thank you, Kathryn. And Kathleen?
So you can reach me on almost every social media under Kathleen Floryan. Just Google it. You can find my YouTube. You can find my Instagram. I just did TikTok. Sorry about that. And then and I have my website, Kathleen Floryan at exprealty.com. And then also, if you want to, I answer my phone like all of us do, right? From 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at 904-687-5146. That's 904-687-5146. And I'd love to help you with your customers.
There you go.
Thank you, Kathleen. And Taryn.
So my URL, I have a handy one, palmbeachpropertysearch.com. You can find me on social at TPG Palm Beach. That would be Taryn Pisiniski Group Palm Beach. Or just try to type out Taryn Pisiniski, however you think it's spelled, at Realtor, and you will indefinitely find me. I have seen so many different variations. It just, I think Google knows now every misspelling of my name. So, and on Instagram, I'm the Taryn P. So THE Taryn P. And I do answer my phone, including 11 p.m., sometimes 1 a.m., 3 a.m., because I have sleeping issues. And some of my most memorable negotiations have been clients that reached out at 11 o'clock at night, not expecting a reply because they worked the night shift at the hospital. Our entire negotiation was spent between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. And the only time we ever got together in person was a Sunday. Like Alison, we have some similar stories here. A listing, we couldn't get any properties. We kept getting scooped because of their hours. I was in my pajamas. A listing got listed. It must have been like 8 a.m. I called them at 8:30. I said, I know you're just getting back from the hospital. I'm still in my pajamas. I'm putting my kids in the car in their pajamas. We're all half asleep. I'm going to camp out in front of this listing until somebody actually gets out of the property. And I couldn't get the agent. I surprised them. We got the offer in, and nobody even knew it was on the market before we had it under contract.
Wow.
Well done.
Oh,
Good move.
So
You're my realtor.
Gotta hustle.
I would like to be all of your Palm Beach realtors, so save my number.
what a great hour. What a great group. And you all just, great leaders, great resources for your markets, and great partners of Haute Residence and Haute Living. Really proud to work together with each of you.
Thank
So
you, April.
keep
We're
up all
delighted
the
too.
Everyone.
See you
Thank
again.
you. Keep up all the great work. Stay healthy and safe.
And you
Bye.
too. April. Bye.